Alright, appreciate your listeners. Thank you for joining us on this edition of Gospel Trend, a weekly program where we bring to you Christian news, events, informations, and happenings all around the world, live on this YouTube channel. And I still remain your host, Backlash. I know it's been a while, but we are back and we are back fully. First, let's go to the headlines of Christian news events making rounds all around the globe. First, woman dies, meets Jesus face to face in heaven, gets brought back to life. As she said, she wrote, "It is real. Jesus is real," she wrote. Another headline says, "We are the church. We don't run from war. Frontlines Ukraine church standing strong for the gospel is coming from Ukraine between the war between Ukraine and Russia." Also, Putin cites Bible verse at massive rally to justify his war on Ukraine. Attacks against civilian rage. You want to know what that means? You have to stay tuned to get the full details of this story. Also, Operation Blessing ministering to traumatized Ukrainian women, children for over a week. It says, "I couldn't sleep." That's coming from one of the Operation Blessings volunteer workers. Also on the headlines, over 1,000 UK churches ready to host Ukrainian refugees. More story on that is coming soon. Working class Christian boys with strong faith in God do better in school than less religious peers. This is according to a study. Full detailed story will be coming shortly. Also on the headline, Catholic school faces backlash over cancelling gay author visits. This is another story from the Catholic school. And still on the headlines, Brian Hussein, the founder of Hillsong Church, breached the Hillsong's pastor's code of conduct. Full disaster story is also coming to your way. It is demonic. Pastors warn about Disney Pixar's new film turning red. And finally, for the glory of God, Liberty University students with unexpectedly deep voice advances to the next round of American Idols. Stay tuned and I'll give you the full details of all these headlines. Remember, I see your host Oluwaseun Falabi, and this is Gospel Trend. I will surely be right back. Stay tuned. Alright, if you're just joining us, this is Gospel Trend, a weekly program between Christian news, events, informations, happenings all over the world, live on this YouTube channel. Please do well to subscribe and also click on the notification button so that you can receive our notification whenever we post videos. I remain your host, Oluwaseun Falabi. Now going to the full details of the headlines of the stories we have for you today. Woman dies, meets Jesus face to face in heaven, gets brought back to life. As she wrote, "It is real." On February 12, 2018, Brian Himes called 911 dispatch operator fire department, which is the address of your emergency. When I said, "Tina, please, honey, I think my wife is having a heart attack. She passed out." Dispatch operator said, "Listen, is she breathing?" Brian said, "No, she is not." Then Tina was unresponsive. Brian recalls seeing his wife's body on the ground. Said, "I've never seen anybody with their eyes rolled back and literally starting up to turn purple." Jeff Lugers, your neighbor who had stopped over for a quick visit, tried to find a pulse and then began CPR. Brian recalls Jeff said, "Brian, I can't do this. I'm not doing it right." And so I put the phone down on the rocks and I just started pushing on Tina, pushing on her chest. In the middle of her chest, I was panicked. Jeff shares his experience at the moment. It was like a man giving every last breath that he had to try to get his wife back. Brian says, I thought she was dead. First responders arrived at the scene. Paramedics administered 2 rounds of ephedrine and shocked Tina's heart. Brian says they did it a 3rd time, and I'm looking at them going, guy, it is heart beating. Can you get her heart beat? Please, God, please make her heart beat. She says, Tina, still without a heartbeat, is rushed up to the Aveli Medical Center by ambulance. At the paramedics continue trying to resuscitate her. Tina's injury include a gash on her forehead from the fall, a cracked sternum, and several cracked ribs from the sacrum with no signs of life. For about 20 minutes, Tina is rushed into the ER. In my mind, I knew she was dead. There was nothing, says the Erin's neighbor Jeff Logos. Family and friends trickle into waiting room to pray and be with Brian. It was a prayer of desperation. I said, God, take everything from my life if you give me back Tina. Brian shares. Meanwhile, Tina's sister Tammy and her husband Dave rushed across the desert from Los Angeles to Phoenix. Dave says, and she just told me that she had sudden peace. Suddenly, something fell on her peace that Tina was going to be okay. As she told me that story, I got a text on my phone. It was Brianna. Tina is alive. Brianna shares. The doctor explained, we defibrillated her one time in the ER and she came back. And that was probably 28 minutes with limited or no oxygen. We don't know what happened. We are going to induce a coma to allow our body to relax while we are doing all these tests to try to figure out what happened. The doctor continued to explain, most people don't survive after 5 to 10 minutes of being without oxygen to the brain. And if Tina pulled through, she would most likely have brain injuries that could leave her with a major brain handicap. Relying from his wife's potential complication, Brianna stepped into Tina's ICU room for the first time. I mean, she was vented. The things breathing for her. She's got all these tubes on her, and your eyes just immediately go into the monitor, watching the heart rate thing, the chart, and hearing the beeping and seeing the numbers. It was crazy, she said, but I had to be happy too that at least she's alive, said Brianna. Meanwhile, the ICU waiting room was filled with family and friends crying out to God for Tina, including Dave and Tammy. Dave asked, and we were praying the whole time. The next day was Tina's vital signs were back to normal. Our doctors needed to determine if she could breathe on her own. They decided to take off the ventilator. Brianna whispered in his wife's ear, the doctor needs to know that you can breathe on your own. And I told them that you are a superwoman. Can you breathe on your own? Can you show him that you can breathe on your own? I just went. When I looked back at the doctor and he goes, that's work. Tina was able to breathe on her own, and once she was fully conscious, Dave placed a pen in her hand and held a notebook for her, and she just started making marks, and I couldn't tell what it was, and I was almost shaking. I was fixed. I just held the book steady because I didn't want it to drop. Right now, because we figured out that she wrote, it is real. What it is real. And I go, the pain, the hospital, slowly nodding your heads, eyes are closed, she's fully vented, she's moving all this, no, and then my daughter goes, heaven, and she goes, she nods, yes. Dave remembers, someone said Jesus, a peace came across her. When I says, I just looked at Dave and said she's going to be just fine. The doctor warned that she may not be able to speak for a while. However, Tina had a lot to say really. I just wanted to share that I saw Jesus face to face, and the unbelievable rest and peacefulness of what I was experiencing was Jesus standing there with his arms wide open, and right Jesus standing there was this incredible glow. It was the most vibrant and beautiful yellow with cracked sternum and ribs on the men. Tina was discharged from the hospital on February 16th, just 4 days after suffering a cardiac arrest without any brain impairment. Today, Tina is training for a half marathon and enjoying her life. God is real in my life. Jesus is real. Heaven is real. I know that God can use every situation to make us who we are in Christ, says Tina. And that was the story of the headline saying, woman dies, meet Jesus face to face in heaven, get brought back to life. She wrote, it is real. Full detailed story is on CBN News. Still on this stories making around, we are the church. We do not run from war. Frontline Ukraine church standing strong for the gospel. Here on the front lines of Ukraine, the church is standing strong. In at least one case, it just happens to physically stand right between Kyiv and the Russian army. But Pastor Andrei Martonov of Grace Nation Church isn't nervous. He laughs, no, we just pray. Within hours of Russian invasion, this prominent evangelical church in Kyiv started holding prayer services every 4 hours. Said we receive revelation from God that we are to pray, and the more the church is praying, it destroys the enemy and destroys their ability to shoot at Ukraine territory, civilian targets, and our Ukrainian military. Pastor Andrew said he firmly believes God is answering those prayers as Ukraine's military fight to rebuff Russian forces. Ukraine will not be conquered by Russia. With God's help, Ukraine will overcome Russia, he said. Yet you cannot underestimate just how precarious the church sits geographically. On the western edge of Kyiv, region is 6 miles away from Russian forces. At this point, of course, we are in regular communication with the Ukraine military, and if there's any immediate danger, we will inform our people. But we are in the church, we stay here, and we do not run from war, he said. Nearby questions are a daily occurrence as CBN News discovered while working in the church parking lot. Yet explosions do little to deter an army of volunteers like Natalie Volkova, who has been coming to the church every day since war started to sort, pack, and gather relief supplies. Even though we hear the explosion and sometimes they are very close, we just continue doing our ministry to help those who are in deeper need than we are. That's why I am not scared at all. At least said, even 11-year-old Elizabeth is here pitching in. I feel good because I know that I'm doing something very important. She said the church has so far helped 60,000 people since Russia's invasion, and tells CBN News that humanitarian effort is going to continue for as long as it takes. In the meantime, their focus is on Russia. They are praying for major spiritual breakthrough. This story is on CBN. The headline says, we are the church, we do not run from the war. Frontlines Ukraine church standing strong for the gospel. And still on the Ukraine war, as touching Christian news, event happens over the world. Putin cites Bible verses at massive rally to justify his war on Ukraine. Attack against civilian rage continues. Accusation of war crimes are mounting against Vladimir Putin as Russian troops persist in targeting Ukrainian civilians, bombing apartment buildings, shelters, and hospitals. Facing widespread global condemnation, the Russian tyrant decided to hold a massive pro-Russia rally where he cited the Bible to support his violence against Ukraine. Moscow police claim more than 200,000 people attended Putin's rally at Luzhniki Stadium, celebrating the 8th anniversary of Russia seizing the Crimean Peninsula from Ukraine. Putin praised the country's troops, saying, "We have not had unity like this for a long time." He then paraphrased the Bible, saying, "There is no greater love than giving up one's soul for one's friend." He is quoting of the Bible and an 18th century Russian admiral are just the latest sign of his increasing focus on using religion and history to rally Russians together as the country still struggles to climb out of its post-Soviet malaise. As CBN's Faith Wire recently reported, Putin seeks Ukraine as part of Russia's spiritual space, and some say he thinks a messianic figure, a savior, to unite Eastern Orthodox churches under Moscow. Targeting civilians is a war crime. Meanwhile, Russian forces are unleashing death and destructions on their Ukraine brothers as they increase attacks on civilian. First responders were seen covering bodies of a family of 5 with blankets after a Russian missiles attack in Chernihiv. In Mariupol, an urgent rescue effort is underway where whoever could be trapped alive under the rubble of a shelter destroyed in Russian airstrike. Out of the more than 1,000 believed to be in the building, including many women and children, only about 130 people have been rescued so far. President Biden said his opinion war crimes have been committed in Ukraine and said U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, "Personally, I agree. Personally, targeting civilians is a war crime." Ukraine forces have launched successful counterattacks. Starlink Kremlin forces footage of battle out in Kyiv on Wednesday showed Russian tank being destroyed, possibly by drone strikes. CBN's George Thomas says Ukraine is clearly now going on the offensive. Authorities in Kyiv used the curfew to really attack the Russian, Thomas said, while on a tour of Ukraine checkpoints. So they have been going to locations like Irpin to Volga to try and push Russian further away because the Russians are on their heels. Because maybe 15,000 Russians who have died reportedly, with those who've basically given up their tanks and trucks. So the Russians are on their heels and Ukrainians are taking the advantage. Full details of this story is on CBN News. The headline says Putin cites Bible verses at massive rally to justify his war on Ukraine. Attacks against civilian rage goes on. And still on the Ukraine-Russian war, Operation Blessing ministering to traumatize Ukraine women, children for over a week. I couldn't sleep, one says. Near the Poland-Ukraine border, millions of people are fleeing the war in Ukraine. Most of the refugees are women and children. The CPN's Operation Blessing is working hard across the region to help this desperate family. Mark teachings of CPN Europe is with the Operation Blessing aid workers at the refugee center close to the border with Ukraine. More than 4,000 people who have been displaced by the war. They are spending the night there. He explains that many of them are children and have been affected by the war and, of course, incurred tremendous trauma by what they've seen and what they've had. One room here has been turned into a room where children can escape for a moment from the realities of war, where they can play, where they can minister to, and where they can receive trauma counseling. Operation Blessing serves lending a hand installation floor and fixing walls throughout the facility to help create safe places for families. So thank you very much for ministering to the children and letting them escape for a moment of reality of war. Teaching says one mother named Olena shared her story with us. Olena says in February we were preparing to leave for school. One day we heard a loud, our daughter interjects, a rocket flew in front of our house with a very loud noise at our window and we saw something flew by very fast. Then we found out it was Russian rocket from Kharkov. She was Olena couldn't believe what she was seeing. It is one to hear about this and that thing when you see it with your own eyes. My older daughter did not sleep at night. She was listening. She was scared. For a week, I couldn't sleep even if I wanted to. Olena says she knew she had to get away and take her children to a safe location. Operation Bless is partnering with churches in Poland to help many families like Olena. They receiving life-sustaining supplies and finding rest and comfort from the war back home. I trust God will provide for all our needs. He knows what is best for us. He will surely provide. Olena states. This story is on CBN News with the headline Operation Blessing ministering to traumatized Ukrainian women, children for over a week. One of them says, I couldn't sleep. Alright, now I'll be going a short break and I'll be back to give you more stories, more stories on Christian news, events, happenings all around the world. Stay tuned. Okay, if you're just joining us, welcome back. This is Gospel Trend live on this YouTube channel, and I remain your host, Falabi. So, giving you stories, events, happenings all around on this program. Back to the story. Over 1,000 UK churches ready to host Ukrainian refugees. The number of UK churches stepping up to host Ukrainian refugees has surpassed 1,000. Sanctuary Foundation is appealing to churches, businesses, organizations, and individuals to pledge their support for new arrival coming from war-torn Ukraine. The foundation was launched by Dr. Krish Kandia to encourage people to take part in the UK government's new scheme asking Britons to host Ukraine refugees in their hometown. Dr. King thanked churches for their generosity and said that he was praying it would make a big difference to people coming to UK. Churches across the UK are again responding with great compassion and generous hospitality towards Ukrainian refugees, just as they step up to support the Afghan evacuee family and the new arrivals from Hong Kong over the past few months, he said. Dr. Kandia said the response from churches has demonstrated their role as a force for good in society. Every time I see the church demonstrate the grace and love of God to our neighbors from all over the world, I celebrate the genius of God in designing the church to be a force for good at local, national, and global level. We continue. We are now in position to offer homes to 10,000s of Ukrainian refugee churches, individual businesses, and charity can all put themselves forward to help in what is proven to be the largest scale humanitarian sponsorship scheme ever seen in UK. He said the Sanctuary Foundation was now developing resources to mobilize more people in helping new arrivals as well as training and support for hosts. Dr. Kana added, "We hope and pray that this will make a big difference to Ukrainian refugees who come to the UK, but also that it will encourage our brothers and sisters in Ukraine." Church, thank you to the 1,000 plus churches and individual Christians who are making all of this possible. This story is on ChristianToday.com with the headline, "Over 1,000 UK churches ready to host Ukrainian refugees." Now on another story, working class Christian boys with strong faith in God do better in school than less religious peers, according to study. Teenage Christian boys from working class families who regularly participate in their church and demonstrate strong faith in God are twice as likely to earn bachelor's degree as their moderately religious or non-religious peers. New research showed. The research by Ileana Mott-Otwis, an assistant professor of Jewish studies and theology at Tulane University, tracked 3,290 teenagers from 2003 to 2012 using survey and interview data from the National Study of Youth and Religion. It then links that data to the National Student Clearinghouse in 2016. Otwis, who released our findings published in our latest book, God, Grace and Graduation, recently highlighted some of our work in a guest essay for the New York Times. While the benefits of religion varied among teenage boys, Otwis found that working class boys, regardless of race, appear to benefit the most from the offering of their Christian community when it comes to education. Those raised by professional class parents, for example, do not experience much in the way of educational advantage from being religious. In some West regions, even constraints teenagers' educational opportunities, especially girls, by shaping their academic ambition after graduation. Otwis said they are less likely to consider a selective college as their prioritized life goal, such as parenthood, altruism, and service to God rather than a prestigious career. The finding come even as data from the 2020 American Family Survey showed that a striking minority, just 36% of parents, believe churches are serving their sons well. This share is almost equal to the 3% who says the same about how the criminal justice system is serving their sons well. The minority of parents also believe churches are serving their daughter well, but that number is 5% point higher at 41%. Some 42% of parents, particularly those who are Christians, believe sports and other clubs serve their sons better than churches. In a study, however, Otwis shows that for males, particularly those from working class families, religious belief and involvement are positive force on academic achievements. The academic advantage of religious working class children begin in the middle and high school, with grades they earn among those raised in the working class. 21% of religious teenagers brought home report cards filled with A's compared to 9% of their less religious peers. We said grades are also the strongest indicator of getting into and completing college, and religious boys are more than twice as likely to earn grades that help them to be competitive for college admission and scholarship. Strong religious belief and involvement were also shown to buffer working class teenagers from despair. Since the early 2000s, just as the kids in the study were entering adolescence, there has been a drastic rise in number of working class men dying deaths of despair from opioid, alcohol poisoners, and suicide. It is noted but this fear doesn't die, it gets transmitted to children. Most of the working class kids in my study, especially boys, seem to look out in the world and feel despair physically, cognitively, and emotionally. I found that most of the working class boys in the study are dropped out of the education system by their mistresses and seemed on track to repeat the cycle of despair. Last September, husband and wife researching and a case and Nobel Prize winner August Derton found their working paper, The Great Divide, Education, Despair and Death, that Americans who don't have a college degree are now facing a bleak and deadly future compared to those who do. You can get the full story of this news on Christian Post. The headline on class: Christian boys with strong faith in God do better in school than religious peers. Study shows that there's tendency that every student, every child of a working class Christian boy always do well in school, especially those with strong faith. Full story is on the Christian headline. To another story, Catholic school faces backlash over Catholic gay author visits. A Catholic diocese is facing backlash over cancelling a children's book signing event featuring a gay author at one of the schools, and reportedly removed the school's governor for backing the decision to invite the speaker. At this Scottish website, Catholic Truth first reported children's book author Simon James Green was scheduled to visit students in years 8 and 9 at the John Fisher School in Crawley, London on March 7th, as indicated in a letter obtained by Catholic Truth and written by the librarian at All the Boys Catholic Church School. The book signing event was part of the school's World Book Day and LGBT History Month celebration. The purpose of the event was for going to discuss his novel Noah Can't Even, which featured a gay character. Another one of the Green's book, Alex in Wonderland, was selected as one of the top 20 LGBTQ plus books of 2019 by Attitude, according to his website. The prospect of Catholic school promoting books advancing an ideology that runs contrary to Catholic Church teaching on marriage and sexuality did not sit well with the Catholic website, which seeks to report on the crisis in the church and calls out of faithful clergy who are living double lives of sexual immorality. Catholic school cannot, under any circumstances, endanger the faith of pupils in their charge by presenting as a good something which is condemned by divinely repeated teaching authority of Christ Jesus, the website argued. The article, which urged Catholic to protest green speech and called for its cancellation, cited paragraph 2357 of this Catechism of the Catholic Church as justification for its position. The document states that homosexual acts are intrinsically disordered, contrary to the natural law, and under no circumstances can they be approved. Simon Hughes, the Director of Education and the Elysian School of Coordinator for the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Southwark, issued a formal position statement on the book signing event on March 3rd, 4 days before Green's scheduled appearance speech. From time to time, materials or events emerge for conclusion that falls outside the scope of what is permissible in Catholic school, it wrote. The book signing event scheduled for 7th March 2022 at the John Fisher's Crawley is one such event, and we have recommended that the school's leaders cancel it, Hughes said. While the school initially planned to continue the event despite the Archdiocese's recommendation, one school leader vigorously disagreed with that decision. In a message shared by Green on Twitter, the official school chaplain, Father James Clark, warned parents that the event involves an author whose books are not in line with Catholic education and are contrary to the ethos of our school and to the teaching of the church. The teachers and governors have decided to disobey the clear instruction from the diocese, and this will have serious consequences in the weeks ahead, Clark lamented. Clark encouraged parents to email the school to stress your request that the event is cancelled, that your trust can be restored. This is not about diversity, Clark maintained. No one is denying the existence of those who have differing beliefs of ourselves. The event is about promoting the nature of a lifestyle choice that is contrary to the teaching of Jesus Christ and therefore has no place in Catholic school. While the event was cancelled, the fallout continued. A news reported last week that Hughes expressed outrage that the school's foundation governor decided to allow the event to move forward. In a letter published March 15, he said that the decision has eroded his and Archbishop John Wilson's confidence in the governing body, and that they are removing the remaining foundation governance under the power set out in the articles on instrument of governance. The move rendered the governing body incorrect and dysfunctional. Full reader of this story is on Christian Today with the headline Catholic School faces backlash after cancelling gay author visit. I don't know what your take on this. Kindly use the comment box below to share your opinion on this particular story. Still on that story making rounds, Brian Austin breached the Hillsong's pastor's code of conduct. Hillsong had apologized after senior pastor Brian Austin was investigated over allegation of inappropriate test and entering a woman's hotel room. In statement on Friday, Church's Global Board said that there had been a significant breach of trust and that in one of the two incidents, Austin had breached the Hillsong pastor's code of conduct. The first complaint goes back a decade and is said by the board to have involved inappropriate text messages from Austin to a Hillsong staff member who subsequently resigned. The staff member's identity had not been disclosed. The board said this incident occurred while Austin was dependent on sleeping tablets and that he had apologized and received treatment. At that time, Pastor Brian was under the influence of sleeping tablets, upon which he had developed a dependency. He immediately apologized to the person, the statement said. We also work closely with Pastor Brian to ensure he received professional help to eliminate his dependency on this medication, and this was achieved successfully. To this former staff member, we again apologize and would welcome the opportunity to provide further assistance if this is needed. The second complaint was received in 2019 from an unnamed woman who said Austin had entered a hotel room. The woman subsequently asked for the refund of the donation she had made to the church, which Hillsong agreed to. The boss said Austin was extremely remorseful and insisted on repaying the church for the money it lost from the refund. Following an in-depth investigation, it was found that Pastor Branham became disoriented after a session at the Hillsong conference following the consumption of anti-anxiety medication beyond the prescribed dose mixed with alcohol, the boss said. This resulted in him knocking on the door of a hotel room that was not his, entering the room and spending time with the female occupant. The investigation by the integrity unit appointed by the Global Board found that although all parts of the complaint were unable to sustain, important elements of the complaint were sustained and the conduct was of serious concern. Detail of the story is on Christian Today with headline Christian Austin breached the Hillsong's pastor code of conduct. Still on the story making rounds, it is demonic. Pastors warn about Destiny Pixar's new film turning red. There has been no shortage of conversation and debate surrounding Disney Pixar's new animated film Turning Red. The movie, a coming-of-age story about a 13-year-old girl named Merlin who starts magically turning into a giant red panda, has one pastor warning about its sin and asking it is demonic. Mike, senior pastor of V1 Church in New York City, currently released a video on social media taking parents through his spiritual concerns over the film, and the reason he concluded it is simply not a kids movie. Full detail of the story is on CBN News. The headline: it is demonic. Pastor warns about Disney Pixar's new film Turning Red. And finally, on the story making rounds, for the glory of God, Liberty University students with unexpectedly deep voice advances to the next round on American Idol. A 20-year-old sophomore from Liberty University has advanced to the next round of American Idol after showcasing his shockingly deep voice. Luke Taylor, a commercial music major and aspiring country music artist, performed Ring of Fire by Johnny Cash on the signing competition TV show. He shared that American Idol's crowd actually called him to be on the show due to his increased popularity on social media. He has 2 million followers on TikTok. I actually got called to be on this show. Most people have to audition, the singer explained. After a big corporation reached out to me without saying anything is very humble. Honestly, I feel Like a lot of people would think it would really boost my ego, but knowing that I'm just some kid from the middle of nowhere, I am having this awesome opportunity shows how good God really is. This of the story is on Christian Headlines with the Christian Headlines. The headline says, "For the glory of God, the Liberty University students with unexpectedly deep voice advances in the next round on American Idols." And that'll be a wrap on Gospel Trend. Join me as I bring to you another stories, treasure stories, events happening all over the world as touching Christian news. I remain your host, Oluwaseun Afolabi. Remember, God is glorified now when we are satisfied in Him. Please do well to subscribe. See you soon. Bye for now.